Hey, Mathman Dan here. We are at Predator Motorsports, and this is Ryan. Predator Motorsports is his baby.
Occasionally.
Standing
on the good days.
Behind us is a disassembled Hummer H1, and we're going to look at a little of the math that happens behind the scenes, what they're doing here. So first of all, what are you doing to this poor H1?
We're doing actually a full restoration. We're taking out the original inefficient 6.5 turbo diesel engine and putting a 6.6 Duramax diesel engine in there. And that doesn't sound like a huge difference in numbers, 6.5 versus 6.6, but it's a world of difference. I mean, this is state-of-the-art engine, puts out 24,000 PSI fuel pressure. We're able to control the variable vane turbo. I mean, there's so many different aspects of this engine that we can control now.
Was the original one diesel?
Yeah, original one was diesel too.
This is just a better diesel.
Oh, night and day difference. Night and day.
Okay,
difference.
so first of all, you're telling me about the horsepower. How much horsepower is this engine, do you know?
It's about 300 to 330 horsepower stock.
And that's measured right off the engine
Right
somehow.
off the flywheel, yes.
Okay, but you were saying that's not the horsepower you get to the wheels, basically.
Correct. It's not very accurate, and the reason for that is you've got an entire drive lane that goes past the engine that most manufacturers don't even take into consideration. So, which accounts for something called parasitic loss. And this parasitic loss is a calculation of horsepower and torque loss after the engine going through the transmission, the transfer case, the rear end, the geared hubs, which are unique on the H1 that aren't on a typical vehicle, but they're on this. And you're talking about a 41 to 42% parasitic loss, which is a substantial decrease in actual performance. And also that translates into fuel economy as well.
So how do you guys measure the net horsepower you actually get out of the car?
It's pretty basic. We put the engine on a dyno, and we get an accurate measurement on the dyno. So that it'll put out, let's say this one puts out 300 horsepower. Then after we do the conversion, we'll take the same vehicle, same engine, put it back on a dyno, and we'll take that, and it'll be a vehicle dyno this time instead of an engine dyno. So we'll dyno the rear wheels and come up with the horsepower figure there. Once we have those two figures, we can figure out what the percentage of loss is.
And is there some way you analyze everything that's going on? You mentioned some tables of data you get somehow.
Yeah, what's interesting is we can take an engine that gets, let's say hypothetically speaking, it gets 20 miles per gallon.
Okay.
And just bone stock. I can go in there and remap out the start of injection timing, the pulse width, the duration, the ambient air temperature inflow versus the output on the turbo. And I take all that information and I can modify it slightly and actually improve the fuel economy out of the truck, as well as improve the actual performance.
So somehow there must be some math behind the scenes here that's going on and measuring all these different things, seeing how they affect everything else.
Yes.
Is it safe to say you probably wouldn't be able to tweak this thing as well as you do without all that going on?
There's no way. You're dealing with roughly 150, 200 data tables. And imagine that old movie, The Matrix, where you have that screen of numbers.
Wait, is that movie old already?
Yeah, I think it's almost 8 years old. So you're looking at roughly 150 of these data tables. And you change one number in there, and everything downstream and everything that's related to that window or that data table has been modified. So you can really screw up an engine if you're not careful.
So I guess, as I understand, there are some computer components in here, and they're measuring all kinds of things, sensing all kinds of things, and you guys go in here and tweak them.
Correct.
And try and get not only more performance out of the engine, but you said you get actually better gas mileage as well.
Correct. You've got the ECM on here. There's quite a few modules, but the most important one is the ECM. With the ECM, we're able to go in there and modify all these data tables that I just mentioned and get better fuel economy, get better horsepower, and they go hand in hand too. If you look at, for example, a lot of the Japanese engines, they're much more efficient. Their engines are a lot smaller than ours and historically put out better fuel economy. And their horsepower rating is about the same as a big lumbering V8 going down the road from Detroit. So a lot of that is in the tune and actually the efficiency of the engine, the efficiency of the transmission and so forth, all these different components. But we can actually change the efficiency of the engine just through the ECM and changing these data tables. So we can take a vehicle that gets, in this case, we go from 10 to 12 miles per gallon, and we're going up to about 22 to 24 miles per gallon increase.
Really? In a Hummer?
And that's with the engine swap and then also modifying the air intake, the restriction of the air intake, as well as the exhaust system, and also modifying the ECM.
That's pretty good, though.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Okay, so when this thing's all done and you put it all back together, how powerful is it going to be?
0 to 60 in about 4.3, 4.4 seconds. Faster than a Corvette. Not quite the handling of a Corvette, but definitely you got the wow factor when
And you're going to get 20 miles a gallon out of this?
Oh yeah, it'll get 22, 24 miles per gallon.
All right, Ryan, I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Can I have it?
Yeah, of course. Just a little price we'll have to talk about later.
All right. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what you do here.
Appreciate it.
A little math behind the scenes.